Most small business owners learn these lessons the hard way. They lose money, time, and sleep before they figure out what actually works. But you don't have to. We're breaking down 21 essential business lessons that separate the owners who thrive from the ones who just survive. Let's start with the foundation. Your business is not your baby. I know that sounds harsh, but this mindset shift changes everything. When you treat your company like a living thing that needs your constant attention and validation, you make emotional decisions instead of smart ones. You hold on to products that don't sell. You keep employees who don't perform. You chase customers who drain your energy. The moment you separate your identity from your business, you can actually run it. Here's the second lesson. Revenue is not profit. This one kills businesses every single day. You can have $1 million business and be broke. You can be growing fast and still be losing money on every sale. Profit is what's left after expenses. Revenue is just the number that looks good on paper. Track your actual margins. Know your cost per unit. Understand your overhead. A small business making steady profit at $50,000 beats a rapidly growing business hemorrhaging cash at $500,000 every time. The third lesson is this. You cannot do everything yourself. Most founders start solo and think they have to stay that way because they can't afford to hire. But the cost of your time is higher than you think. If you're spending 20 hours a week on bookkeeping, when you could hire someone for $15 an hour, you're losing money. You're also burning out. Delegate the tasks that don't require your unique skills. Hire for weaknesses. Build a team, even if it starts with one part-time person. Fourth lesson. Your customer is not always right. Some customers are not worth keeping. They demand discounts, ask for free work, complain constantly, and damage your reputation. Calculate the lifetime value of a customer. If they cost more to serve than they generate in revenue, let them go. Your time and energy are finite. Spend them on customers who respect your work and pay fairly. Fifth lesson. You need systems before you need scale. Don't hire your 10th employee until you have processes documented. Don't expand to a second location until the first one runs without you. Systems are what let you grow without losing your mind. They're the difference between a job and a business. A job is you doing the work. A business is systems doing the work while you manage the systems. The sixth lesson. Your network is your net worth. The relationships you build early become your biggest asset. They bring referrals. They become partners. They give advice when you're stuck. Start building these relationships now, before you need them. It's infinitely harder to ask for help from someone you haven't talked to in 5 years than from someone you've been nurturing a real connection with. These first 6 lessons are just the beginning. Each one could save you thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours. But there are 15 more that are equally critical. Let's dive into the next set. The next batch of lessons hits harder because they're about systems and scale. Lesson 7 is this. Your business will never grow beyond your ability to delegate. Most owners get stuck at exactly the revenue point where they can't do everything themselves anymore. They panic. They hire someone and micromanage them into quitting. Then they're back to doing everything alone, frustrated, wondering why growth stalled. The fix is brutal, but simple. You have to let go of tasks before you're ready to. You have to trust people with imperfect work. Your assistant won't format emails exactly like you do. The social media posts won't sound exactly right, but they'll be 80% there. And that 80% frees you up to do the 20% that actually moves the needle. That's the trade. Lesson 8 is about your numbers. You need to know 3 metrics like you know your own phone number: revenue, profit margin, and cash flow. Most small business owners are flying blind on at least one of these. They think they're making money because the top line looks good, but they're actually bleeding cash. Or they're profitable on paper, but can't pay their team because the money's tied up in inventory. Know your numbers weekly, not monthly, weekly. Set up a simple spreadsheet. Spend 15 minutes every Friday looking at it. That one habit will catch problems before they become crises. Lesson 9 is about pricing. You're probably undercharging. Not maybe, probably. We tend to price based on what we think customers will pay or what competitors charge. Both are wrong. Price based on the value you deliver. If you're solving a problem that costs someone $5,000 a month, charging $500 is leaving money on the table. Test higher prices. Raise them incrementally. You'll be shocked how many customers stick around. The ones who leave are often the ones who were never profitable anyway, because they demanded too much of your time. Lesson 10 is about your team again, but different. You need systems for hiring and firing. Most owners hire when they're desperate, which means they hire badly. Then they keep people around too long, because the firing conversation feels awful. Build a hiring process before you need to hire. Have clear job descriptions. Do real interviews with real questions. Check references and set performance expectations from day one. If someone isn't working out after 90 days, that's not a failure. That's data. Act on it quickly. Keeping the wrong person costs you way more than the awkward conversation. Lesson 11 is about your customer base. You probably have a few customers generating most of your revenue. That's dangerous. If one big client leaves, you're in crisis mode. Diversify. Aim for no single customer to be more than 20% of your revenue. Build systems to attract and retain smaller clients. This feels slower at first, but it's infinitely more stable. You sleep better. You make better decisions when you're not desperate to keep one account happy. And lesson 12 ties it all together. Reinvestment. Whatever profit you're making, you need to put some back into the business. Not all of it, but some. Better tools, better training, better marketing. Owners who only extract profit and never reinvest eventually plateau. The ones who reinvest strategically keep climbing. You're building something that works without you, and that takes investment. Now, here's where most owners get stuck. They reinvest, sure, but they reinvest in the wrong things. They see a shiny marketing platform and buy it. They hire someone because they're overwhelmed, not because they've actually mapped out what that person should do. They upgrade their software because it's new, not because it solves a real problem. Strategic reinvestment means you're solving bottlenecks. You're identifying the exact constraint that's keeping you from growing, and you're throwing resources at that one thing, not 5 things, one thing, until it's solved. Then you move to the next bottleneck. Most small business owners are trying to grow in every direction at once. You can't. You don't have the capital. You don't have the attention. You need to pick your lane and dominate it before you expand. This is also where hiring becomes critical. And hiring is where most owners make their biggest mistakes. They hire too fast or too slow. They hire for the role they need today instead of the role they'll need in 6 months. They hire someone who's great at their job but doesn't fit the culture. And suddenly, your whole team's energy shifts. The best hire isn't always the most experienced person. It's the person who gets your vision, who wants to build something with you, and who's willing to learn. You can teach skills. You can't teach attitude. You can't teach hunger. If someone's just collecting a paycheck, they'll drag your whole operation down. And here's something nobody talks about. As you grow, your role changes completely. The skills that got you to 100,000 in revenue don't scale to 1 million. You can't be the best salesman and the best operator and the best accountant all at once. You have to let go of the things you're good at so you can focus on the things only you can do. This is hard, genuinely hard. You built this thing. You know how to do it better than anyone. But your job shifts from doing the work to building the system and the team that does the work. That's the only way you scale. That's the only way you create something that doesn't depend on you working 80-hour weeks forever. Reinvestment without delegation is just you working harder. Reinvestment with the right team is you building leverage. And leverage is how small businesses actually become real businesses. So here's where most owners get stuck. They build a team, but they don't know how to lead one. They hire people, then micromanage them into the ground because they're terrified something will fall apart. And guess what? It does. Not because the team failed, because the owner never actually let go. Lesson 8 is this. Your job changes when you hire people. You're no longer the person doing the work. You're the person making sure the work gets done right. That's a completely different skill. You need systems. You need clarity about what success looks like. You need to communicate it so well that your team doesn't need you hovering over their shoulder. Most small business owners skip this step. They think delegation means assigning tasks. It doesn't. Delegation means building a process, documenting it, training someone on it, and then trusting them to execute. That trust part is the hardest because it requires you to accept that they might do it differently than you would. And different isn't always wrong. Sometimes it's better. Lesson 9. Your personal brand and your business brand are not the same thing. I know that sounds weird, but follow me. When you're the face of everything, when every client relationship runs through you, when your name is literally on the door, you've created a business that can't survive without you. That's not a business. That's a job. A job where you're also the owner. The businesses that actually scale are the ones where the customer experience is consistent, whether you're there or not. Your team delivers it. Your systems deliver it. Your processes deliver it. You're the vision. You're the strategy. You're not the person answering every email and taking every call. Lesson 10 is about the money conversation nobody wants to have. Profitability and revenue are not the same thing. You can have $1 million business that's completely broke. I've seen it 100 times. Revenue looks good on paper. Profit is what you actually keep. And if you're not obsessively tracking your margins, your costs, and your cash flow, you're flying blind. Most owners don't want to look at the numbers because they're afraid of what they'll find. But here's the truth. The numbers don't change if you ignore them. They just get worse. You need to know your cost of goods sold. You need to know your operating expenses. You need to know what percentage of every dollar actually comes home with you. If you don't know those numbers right now, stop everything and figure them out. Seriously. Lesson 11. Your first hire should not be someone who does what you do. It should be someone who does what you hate. If you're a designer who hates admin work, hire an admin person. If you're a salesperson who hates operations, hire an operations person. The goal is to free up your time, to do the thing only you can do, the thing that makes money. the thing that grows the business. Too many owners hire someone exactly like them and then wonder why nothing changes. You've just created a second version of yourself that doesn't scale, that doubles your problems. So when you're hiring, you're looking for someone who fills a gap you have, not someone who mirrors your strengths. If you're a visionary, but terrible with numbers, hire someone obsessed with spreadsheets and systems. If you're detail-oriented but can't sell, bring in someone who lives for closing deals. This is how you actually build a team instead of just adding payroll. Here's lesson 11. Your business will only grow as fast as your systems allow. Most owners treat systems like they're optional. They're not. A system is just a repeatable way of doing something so that it doesn't depend on you remembering it every single time. It doesn't depend on you being in the room. When you document how you answer customer emails, how you onboard clients, how you handle refunds, you've created something that can survive without you. You can replicate it. You can train someone else to do it. Without systems, you become the bottleneck. Every decision flows through you. Every problem lands on your desk. Every new hire has to learn everything from scratch because nothing is written down. You end up working 80-hour weeks, wondering why hiring people didn't actually free up your time. Lesson 12 is this. Your pricing is probably too low. I say this to almost every small business owner I meet. They underprice out of fear. Fear that customers will leave. Fear that they're not good enough yet. Fear that they should prove themselves first. But here's what happens when you underprice. You attract price-sensitive customers who will leave the moment someone cheaper shows up. You make less profit, so you have less money to invest in growth. You have to work harder and serve more customers just to hit your revenue targets. It's exhausting, and it doesn't work. The businesses that scale are the ones that charge what they're actually worth and then use that extra margin to invest back into the business. Better marketing, better tools, better team members. Higher prices attract clients who value quality over cost. Those clients stick around longer. They refer more people. They're easier to work with. You don't need to raise prices overnight, but you need to stop thinking of pricing as something that's set in stone. Test it. Raise it incrementally. See what happens. Most of the time, what happens is nothing except you make more money on the same amount of work. Lesson 13 is about your relationship with money itself. A lot of owners avoid looking at their numbers. They don't want to know how much they're actually making or losing. They check their bank balance, but never their profit. They pay themselves randomly instead of systematically. This is how businesses fail quietly. You can't manage what you don't measure. If you don't know your actual profit margin, your customer acquisition cost, your lifetime customer value, you're flying blind. You're making decisions based on feeling instead of data. Start tracking these numbers. Weekly, if you can. Monthly at minimum. Know where every dollar is going. Know what's actually profitable and what's just keeping you busy. This single habit will change how you run your business. Once you're tracking those numbers, the next thing most owners get wrong is they don't actually plan. They react. Something breaks, they fix it. A customer leaves, they panic. A slow month hits, they cut everything. That's not strategy. That's survival mode. And survival mode is exhausting. Real planning means sitting down quarterly and asking yourself hard questions. Where do I want this business in a year? What needs to happen for that to be true? What's blocking me right now? Then you work backward. You set actual targets, revenue targets, customer targets, Profit margins you need to hit, not wishes. Targets with numbers attached. Most small business owners skip this because it feels like busy work. You think you know where you're going. But here's what actually happens without a plan. You end up working toward everything at once. You chase every opportunity. You say yes to every customer. You expand into categories that don't make sense. And a year later, you're exhausted. Your margins are thin, and you still don't know if the business is actually working. Planning forces you to choose, and choosing is hard, but it's also the only way to win. When you know exactly what you're building toward, every decision becomes easier. Does this opportunity fit the plan? No. You say no. Does this hire move us closer to our target? Yes, you hire. Does this product line distract from what's working? Yes, you kill it. The other thing planning does is it makes you accountable. You can't hide from your own targets. Every quarter you look back and ask, did we hit what we said we'd hit? If yes, you celebrate and push harder. If no, you figure out why. And that's where real growth happens, not in the wins. In the honest look at what didn't work, start simple. Pick 3 numbers that matter most to your business. For some, it's revenue and profit margin and customer count. For others, it's revenue per customer and repeat rate and cash on hand. Whatever they are, they should tell you the health of your business. Then set where you want those numbers to be in 12 months. Break that into quarterly targets. Check them every 90 days. Adjust if you need to, but commit to the process. This is where most owners fall apart because they confuse planning with rigidity. You're not locked into your plan. You're locked into the process of planning. You stay flexible on how you get there. You stay rigid on why you're doing it and what success looks like. That's the difference between a real plan and a piece of paper you forgot about. So when you're in month 3 and your market shifts, you don't panic. You don't scrap everything. You look at your plan and ask what actually changed about your goal. Usually nothing. What changed is the path. So you adjust the path. That's how you survive. Here's where most owners mess up, though. They plan in a vacuum. They sit alone in their office or at their kitchen table, and they think through their business like it's a math problem. Then they execute in the real world where nothing works, like the spreadsheet said it would. The lesson here is plan with your people. Bring your team into the planning process. Not just the final plan, but the thinking. Ask them what they see in the market. Ask them what customers are actually saying. Ask them what's hard about their job. They see things you don't. They're closer to the work. And I don't just mean employees. Talk to your customers. Ask them what problems they still have. Ask them what's missing. Ask them what would make them stay versus leave. This isn't market research that costs $10,000. This is conversations, real ones. When you plan this way, 2 things happen. 1, your plan gets better because it's built on reality instead of assumptions. 2, your team actually executes it because they help build it. They're not following your orders. They're executing their own thinking. This connects to something else that kills small businesses. They treat planning like an annual event. You do it once a year in January, and then you're done. That's backwards. Planning should be continuous. Every month, you're looking at what worked, what didn't, what the market is telling you, and where you need to adjust. Not your big goal. That stays. But your tactics, your focus, your resource allocation. That moves. The best small business owners I know review their business monthly, not obsessively, not to the point of paralysis, but enough to catch problems early instead of discovering them when they've become crises. Here's the hard part, though. Continuous planning means you have to be willing to be wrong. You have to look at something you decided 6 months ago and admit it's not working. That's uncomfortable. Your ego doesn't like it. But the owners who grow are the ones who can do this without flinching. The owners who fail are the ones who defend their old decisions instead of fixing them. They keep doing something because they decided to do it, not because it's working. That's not loyalty to your plan. That's stubbornness. And stubbornness kills businesses. So plan with your team. Plan with your customers. Plan continuously. Stay flexible on method. Stay rigid on outcome. And most importantly, be willing to look at what you decided and say it's not working and change it. That's not failure. That's how you actually succeed. That brings us to the final lesson, and it might be the most important one of all. Everything we've covered today, cash flow, hiring, delegation, marketing, pricing, planning, none of it matters if you don't understand this one thing. You are not your business. Your identity is not your company. And the moment you fuse them together, you've already lost. I see this happen all the time. A business owner takes critical feedback and hears it as a personal attack. They make a decision that tanks the company because admitting it was wrong feels like admitting they're a failure. They can't hire good people because they need to control everything, because letting go feels like losing themselves. They burn out completely because they've made their business their entire life. And when the business struggles, so does everything else. Here's what I know after working with hundreds of small business owners. The ones who actually build something that lasts are the ones who can separate themselves from what they've built. They can look at their business like a parent looks at a child, with love and investment, but also with the ability to say, you know what? This isn't working. We need to try something different. They can fail without falling apart. They can be criticized without crumbling. They can make mistakes and fix them because they're not defending their ego. They're solving problems. Your business is a vehicle. It's a tool you've built to create value, to make money, to serve people, to build something meaningful. But it's not you. You're bigger than it. You're more important than it. And the healthier you are as a person, mentally, physically, emotionally, the better your business will be. That's not soft advice. That's just how human beings work. So take care of yourself. Set boundaries. Take days off. Spend time with people who matter. Have interests outside your business. Stay curious about things that have nothing to do with your industry. Because when you're healthy and grounded, you make better decisions. You see opportunities you would have missed. You handle pressure without breaking. You lead people instead of managing them. And when things get hard, and they will get hard, you'll have the resilience to push through because your entire sense of self-worth isn't riding on whether this quarter's numbers are up or down. These 21 lessons aren't a guarantee. They're a foundation. They're the things that separate the businesses that survive from the ones that don't. But they only work if you actually apply them. Not someday. Not when things calm down. Now. Pick one thing from what you've heard today. The one that resonated most. The one that made you think, yeah, I need to fix that. And start there this week. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until it's too late. Your business is waiting for you to lead it. So lead.